Oh, number two, pruning content. Barry over for the round table. Always on top of the latest news, as always. If I can get XSplit to load the next scene here.
Yeah, so pruning content is the concept. I think the term is pumpkin hacking. Is that the same thing?
No, I don't
I've never
think so.
heard that.
I don't think so.
Jared, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, that's not the same.
No. What's pruning content? Just
Pruning
cutting
content
off?
is, finding low engagement or low quality, posts with low user engagement metrics and low word count posts that aren't ranking for enough keywords on average versus the rest of your content, and no indexing them basically, or 301ing them to a better, higher relevancy post. So you're not doing keyword cannibalization and all that.
It was super popular post Panda. Like when the first Pandas came out, people were doing it like crazy.
Really?
And pumpkin hacking is essentially just deleting the pages and adding them to the actual page you want to rank. Is that
so
correct?
You're taking the content, copying it to another page that already ranks, and then deleting the page that you copied from?
I thought that's what pumpkin hacking was. I don't know.
I think that's part of pruning and just 301ing over. I think was it Nick Eubanks was talking about pumpkin hacking.
Yeah.
I blame Backlinko for all these different phrases coming up, but I think pumpkin hacking. He was just talking about looking at your KPIs and seeing what's moving the needle and just focusing on that.
I'm a big fan.
So you're throwing the biggest pumpkin.
So it's like a broader analysis of everything.
I'm a big fan of salt biscuiting. That's my main strategy. So if you guys get on Twitter, hashtag salt biscuiting on SEO UnMasked.
That's gotta be don't tweet this week.
Oh, that's a do tweet this.
So do you think that people that are doing this, do you think it's an ethical dilemma where they should be improving content so that page actually ranks, or just getting rid of it because it's useless?
I don't see what the problem is. If you're going to no index a page, you're saying, okay, Google, you don't even have to put it in your search engine. So if it's not going to be on their engine, why is it Google's, why do they care about it?
Well, I mean, I think the only point here they're talking about really is like if you've got a page that you think should be valuable and you're just deleting it because you know it's crap, you should probably consider making it better. It's kind of, some people are going to go over the top and just delete everything. I think it's like everything, you've just got to be sensible about how you approach it and think about it deeply before you make a decision. Because there's going to be some sites, like Jared was saying, where it's just so bad you just have to take some of the content off. It's like
so how are people abusing this? So is what I'm trying to grasp. Like basically like idiots that don't know how to do on-site optimization, they just like de-index their pages instead of optimizing them better?
Well, it wasn't something he's saying is being abused. It's something that Google have just said might not be a good idea. So you should probably not do it too much.
Yeah, I think the idea is, let's say half your site's really good content and the half is really shit. Google wouldn't give you a penalty, obviously, for the half that's good. But if they go to the other half and say, wow, this is really shit, we're going to penalize you. Now, because it's all no index, they can't even find it. And
Gotcha.
it's like, I think it's a lazy way to just... I don't know if it's lazy, just a weird way to get around it. It's like, if you're that concerned about Google finding it, why not just delete it altogether?
Yeah.
But
I think the philosophy should be don't hit publish if it's not worth indexing.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, but you can look through the SERPs and find 150 word posts and 75 words of that's a quote from YouTube comments or something. And I mean, they index all that crap.
Yeah.
I think
the real
tactic.
Are you talking about Search Engine Roundtable here specifically, where we're looking?
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah, Barry. 90% of his posts are just tweet pictures and.
But really, I think the best way to use something like this would be to try to control the flow of PageRank, basically.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, I think that's definitely a fact.
Especially if you're a news site or anything. Query deserves freshness, and you got a zillion old posts. You might as well 301 them around.
Yeah, I think that could be a topic for a whole other show. Just the idea of PageRank sculpting or link sculpting in 2017, because that kind of faded out when PageRank was no longer used as a metric. Everyone kind of stopped talking about that. But
well, I mean, it never stopped being used as a metric. Google just stopped.
it's just not a
telling you what it was.
publicly.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, let me tell you, I'm sworn to secrecy, so I can't tell you who, but somebody has access to fresh and current PageRank metrics.
Really?
I know the PageRank for my sites now. It's nice.
You know what your PageRank is?
Yeah.
PageRank 3.
He's PR. He's PR 9. Everything's
Updated
PR
in
9.
October 2017.
Really?
That's awesome.
PR 5 from my
That's
main
pretty
one.
solid. That's solid. That's a solid one.
Cool.
That's $1 million money site right there, man. That's
Yeah.
why he's on SEO Unmasked. Only the big money gets
That's right.
on this show.
It'd be $1 million if I started
PR
selling
5 and up,
points.
boys. PR 5. And if you don't know your PR, don't even bother applying to be on the show. If
That's right.
you haven't got that secret feed.
All right.
Oh, next on the list here, the coming war over your financial data. Axios has a little article here. Obviously, with everything going on, with data breaches and everything in general, what's going to happen in the future? What do you guys think?
Well, I think this article this is more talking about third-party companies that aggregate your
Right.
financial data to
Yeah.
provide you useful data and an overall approach, and the war over who's going to be in the winner in that space. But
Yeah, the banks
obviously
want to freeze people out, don't they? That's what the article's about. The article's
Yeah.
about banks trying to keep control over their historic role, and these apps and startups are trying to give customers more data, more power, more tools, and the banks are pushing back against it by trying to control the data.
Yeah, I just think that all these third-party tools are like a third-party. It's like a completely different thing. I don't really think they are competing against the banks in a way, but I think there's more of a conducive relationship between the two than them facing off against each other.
I don't know. I do not think the banks want to see themselves building their own tools and keeping complete control of their ecosystem.
Yeah, but we talked about that last week with
Yeah.
PayPal and Chase Pay. Like,
Yeah.
they may want to do that, but they may also not be good at doing that at the same time.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's why they're blocking the access to the data. I mean, imagine doing your business banking without being able to link up your account with your online bookkeeping software and having to key all that shit in manually.
I do.
Yeah.
If blanks block them, that's what you'd be facing. You'd be like,
I don't
oh man,
trust
this
that
is
shit.
Dude, I key mine in manually.
Yeah, so do
I
I.
just do it every day. I don't trust it either.
I hate the imported. It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not always wrong, but most of the times I just get angry and it duplicates, and I have to go back through it anyways. And
And
I use
transactions. If you want to volunteer to key ours in manually, Garrett, I'll cancel the I'll cancel that data feed.
if
and
you
I'll
think
start
it's
forwarding
like
you
if
the emails.
it's worth $100 an hour of your time, sure. I mean,
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but you don't trust it. It's your money too. That's a risk. If you want to switch this to manual, Garrett, I'll start forwarding you those emails. I'm not doing it.
I don't.
I'll just trust it and hope it works out.
I use an
I'm
online.
sure Zoho Books is fine.
I use an online bookkeeper, and they just I just connect all my accounts to it,
Yeah.
and they do their best like trying to categorize everything, but with all the independent contractors and stuff, they get a little confused. So about every quarter, I have to go in and kind of manually review everything, and then readjust some erroneous entries. But it's still a time saver. I pay $125 a month.
Oh,
Can't really ask more than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as this article, I can see why the banks are against it, but I think these third-party tools are actually helpful. The only concern is the issue of privacy and them getting hacked and all that kind
right.
of stuff.
Yeah. Next on the list, we have dangers of CSV injection. Kind of reminds me of back in the days with SQL injection and all that fun stuff in my contact.
I
This one's super fun because you don't need
Yeah.
to hack anything. You just send someone a CSV that works completely fine as a CSV. They load it up in Excel. They load it up in Google Docs, and it copies all of the shit on their computer and sends it to you. And it's been reported to like Google and Microsoft, and they're like, oh no, that's just a feature of our spreadsheet. Of course, it's going to convert that into a formula.
Oh my god.
And it's a real problem for if your database has user entered things, and then you download it to a lot of people, they'll download a massive data into CSV because they haven't programmed that part of their system yet. Like, and this will happen to you then when you build your first version of your system. There'll be some feature and analysis that you really need, and it won't have been coded in round one. So you'll grab all the data off your databases to CSV, you'll export it, and you'll get it in Excel just so you can quickly check something or do some analysis that you want to do. If some of your staff or a writer or just a mistake, someone can just put one of those in a field, and you'll see your spreadsheet will convert that into an exploit for you with no warning.
Now
It's insane, absolutely insane.
The SQL injections were how people were hacking the links into old content, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of database injection. Yeah.
So this is crazy, though. I mean, like, you can't call something a feature when it's literally the definition of an exploit. Like,
well, like they say in the article, you can't trust this is you downloading a CSV from your own system, and the system's completely secure from being hacked.
I understand. It's a little
you can't
cell
trust your own. You can't trust your own system.
It's because the spreadsheet will read an equal sign as a formula all the time, and it won't encrypt the data in the cell.
And if you escape it correctly, to prevent the spreadsheet from doing it, you won't be able to re-upload your CSV into other tools that use CSV because it's no longer a valid CSV. It's madness. I just thought that's a really interesting one for the guys. I don't know that it's particularly marketing related, but for those guys who have software tools and systems to run our businesses, it's like.
So what's the workaround here? Like, just there is no workaround. Just pray that doesn't happen.
Never load your data into a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Everybody start making your own databases and learn Django or whatever your favorite framework is.
It's super simple, man. It's awesome to make your own database. They should totally do that. And that's actually my don't tweet this later, so you can get excited about that. I'm going to be talking about fun with databases.
Cool. Next on the list, DreamHost has an article out about just blanked. I know something happened where one of their customers, the government, wanted into it, right? And
they're in a deadlock with the Department of Justice because they didn't want to release. The government was trying to get the user data from an activist website, disruptj20.org, and they brought it to the Department of Justice, and it was found that they were allowed to redact all personal information before the data was passed over to the government. Because the government was obviously just trying to get,
they wanted to know who it was.
Yeah, on activists.
Yeah.
And,
they wanted to know who had visited it, which, like, you could have visited that website because someone tweeted it, and then you're on the list then. It's wait a minute.
Yeah.
I just clicked it. Oh, man.
You're going to be knocking on your door.
Never click that link, man, because you know DreamHost are going to lose this suit in the end. You're on the list now, man. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Like, what are they going to do with that amount of data anyway? It's too many people. I mean, being British, obviously, I'm pro surveillance, because we love our MI5 and MI6 over here. We think they're all James Bond. So we don't have all of this Edward Snowden, induced paranoia. We think they're all like superheroes. But even then, do you really want James Bond? Do you really want James Bond sitting down with a stack of papers like this, or do you want him to just get his briefing report for the one guy? I'm all about precision, but this kind of stuff, this dragnet stuff, is just—it's not even efficient. It's a bad idea to do. Research that way.
I think what's most comforting is that knowing that the host companies have our backs and they're not just going to be willingly passing over data without a fight, at least.
For sure.
Cool.
Next, ego bait. This was from you, right, Ben?
Yeah. You know what? This is Nick Eubanks's agency blog, and they put out some good blog posts, man. I really like their content. But all this was a little case study to see if ego bait was still a viable link building method. And what they did was a side-by-side comparison of a piece of ego bait where they used the skyscraper method to create to find an existing piece of content and make it better. But then they also got influencers in the niche to comment on each one of the tactics within the article. So that was their ego bait. and then they did another article which was completely data-based, they did their own research, they scraped their own data, and then they provided a piece of content around metrics that have never been seen before. And they weighed the two, and the too long don't read is basically both methods did very, very well. And the answer to the case study was that ego bait does in fact still work and works very well. So it's a good read, and I actually learned a few different tricks in there too.
If you think about human psychology, ego bait's always going to work because people are always going to want to be mentioned and to have their name out there. Like, I mean, one really cool one I spoke about in the crash course was just, if you're doing a blog post, why not get a quote from someone every single blog post you do if you're writing a blog post anyway? Because you're writing the blog post anyway. It takes 5 seconds to throw one quote in from someone and let them know they're quoted. And like, even if 1 in 20 of them link to you, if you're doing 10 blog posts a week, it's just a couple of free links a month. You haven't had to do anything. You're writing the blog post anyway. Just little things like that you can take advantage of ego bait without doing anything crazy or investing a lot of time and money. So I mean, just little things like that are so powerful because you're getting 24 free links a year.
Sure.
And sometimes they'll tweet it, they'll promote it to your audience, so you'll get more actual traffic to your blog post through the year as well. And
well, that's what he did. The stipulation for them to be included in the post was that they would either have to promote it socially or provide a link back to the article. So they made a statement as far as like you can launch a piece of content knowing that you already have 24 links before it even goes live. So it's got to be a strong strategy.
I mean that's full on ego bait. I'm just talking about like if you want to throw in some free ego bait into just everything you do. Just throw it in. Don't even bother making any effort. Don't even tell the people first. Obviously, pick people that look a bit more desperate. Don't like quote Gary Vaynerchuk in your. I mean, he'll retweet your shit if you. There you go. I got it in. He'll retweet your shit if you tweet it at him afterwards. But that's all you'll get. Like he's not going to link to you or anything like that. You pick a lower tier influencer and you quote him a few times. You're going to get a link at some point, or a lot of retweets or.
So, Steve, can you tell us how you identify desperate people?
So what do you guys think?
That's our proprietary. That's our proprietary influencer marketing system. So
Got it, buddy.
Well,
what do you think about these?
You have to join the influencer marketing webinar, which we will be doing soon to get that information.
What's up, Jerry?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. These ego bait roundups. What do you think is more? I mean, there's pros and cons because if you're interviewing or taking quotes from people in your industry, you're obviously, I would want to link out from each quote, like their name to their website, right? Yeah. So you're giving all your competitors links.
Right.
So there's a con.
Yeah.
Or you could do something tangential to your industry. So you're linking out to another industry but it's related to what you're talking about. But then are you messing up your topical flow? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. Well, I think even on the surface that there's the issue of trading links, which, if you're giving each of your influencers a link and you're getting that link back, that's against, terms of service too, right? Just a link trade.
Right.
So the way you can get around that is, offer them a link to their like social page or their brand page or something like that.
Or do what they did in the old days. And
we do the roundup and
right.
Yeah, you do the roundup and you don't actually link to them. You just mention them and be like, "Oh, you need to link to us."
Well, what you do is you do the browser redirect through JavaScript, but you heavily obfuscate it so that the JavaScript is not currently passable by Google. It's harder now than it used to be. Back in the old days, you hardly had to do anything, and Google couldn't follow the link, so it wouldn't. But when they clicked it, it would look like a working link. So that's how all the link roundups used to be done back in the old days. You'd do like a bunch of people's sites, like top 10 mummy bloggers who travel with their dog or something, if you were like a travel site. And all the links would look like they work. Like they'd go to the page, they could click through it, take them to the site, but it was all this weird, like there'd be 3 imported JavaScript files that all did different bits, and then that's what would redirect you. So Google couldn't at the time pass those, so there was nothing there for Google. There was
what Jared's talking about is more of like a technical SEO thing where if you're linking
Well, that's
to
what
all
I'm
these
talking about. You're not linking back anymore. There's no reciprocal link. They just link to you, and they get nothing back. And
well, Jay, tell me what you're talking about in terms of topical relevance and not linking to all the same people in your industry because you're basically competing against them, right?
oh, that was
Right.
part two.
I mean, not
I was on
boosting.
part one.
You know, on one hand, you're going to boost your competitors, even if you're linking to their home pages. You're still boosting them a little bit versus screwing up your topical relevancy. So, say you're about electronics, and then you're linking to a bunch of gardening sites because you've got some kind of humidity detector discussion. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. How
Yeah, but I don't
strong
think
you?
you should go that far. I'm sure you can come up with some closer ideas if you're running a business, though. People to
Right.
you are
It's just a
real
theory, though. But
I mean, like I mean, what I always say to clients when they're doing link baits is you want topically relevant but non-financially competing cross niche promotions, and it's super powerful. Like if you're I don't know, some kind of building maintenance company, but you don't do electronics, you can do a bunch of electrician type stuff about to do with buildings, and the links you get are going to be super relevant. But the people you're working with, they don't compete with you at all financially.
I think there's
But
something
it's still
to say
super
too.
relevant for your site.
Linking the home pages with brand terms is not going to boost them as much as them linking all back to one page that you've optimized for some kind of term. So, I mean, you're still going to come out on top. I just wanted to spur up some discussion.
Yeah,
That was fun. So obfuscated JavaScript and keep it close. Don't do the JavaScript one unless you really like to live dangerously, guys. It's just how it used to be done in the old days and can still be done, maybe.
I do think outlinking is almost becoming a ranking factor, though, and where you rank to.
Oh, it has been for a long time. In the health space, particularly, for quite a long time, if you didn't have authority links out on your pages, it was much, much harder to get them to rank. And I've seen that tested on a pretty huge health site by their agency. So,
well, you know, it's something that totally makes sense, especially in the health field where you should be citing a lot of authoritative sources to back up. You know, if you're writing an article on cancer, probably shouldn't be like citing just Wikipedia about lung cancer or something. Like this doctor here said this and this and that, and this hospital said this, and it makes sense.
Right.
But how do you?
There's some kind of query classifications too, where it's like they want an authoritative site to rank versus a site that does something like a roundup. I can't remember what they call it, but it's like the Hilltop algorithm versus this other one. So are you a node that links out across the web, or are you a node that collects all the links? And there's different queries that deserve.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Google's a lot cleverer with this stuff than people give them credit for, and that's why you have to look at your space specifically. Like generic advice is rarely going to work for you because it's different in every space. I think this show is becoming like a whole show of don't tweet this, so we're going to delete it from YouTube. It will self-destruct.
We're going to have to set up a Patreon account or something, like people can pay for the tips that you give out.
Yeah, especially if Jared comes back on. I mean, this show's been a lot more serious on the SEO advice rather than usual.
There you go. But yeah, this article is a good read. I suggest somebody takes, you guys take the 10 minutes to go through it.
I mean, I guess some of the viewers might not have realized that the old SEO Nick's gone, and then he brought his new blog out, which I forget the name of. All of them are gone now. It's all on the I'm from the Future blog. So if you have been a Nick Eubanks follower for ages, which I think pretty much all of us who are serious in the SEO world have been following him, if you've lost track of him since he's fully on his agency blog now. So if you want to just see all of his stuff, it's on there, and it's the same good stuff that you've been reading for years. It's just not SEO Nick anymore. Some new dude owns that.
Yeah.
That's so Nick. Weird.
Yeah, I know. Some dude that's not called Nick owns SEO Nick.
Cool.
Yeah, next in the news, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, Vin had brought up, or was it you, Steve, about how there's a handful of companies these days that really have their fingers really deep in Google search results, and I think Steve finally found the article again today.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the link at the time. It was on Viper Chill's blog.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so like an example here, right, on the page, Cosmopolitan, Esquire, Marie Claire, Women's Day, and Elle. A lot of big women's publications, all controlled by, they're all going to Best Products, whatever that is, some big holding company. I don't know. I don't know if that's a good way to put it, but a lot of these big giant publications are all controlled by the same people. And even though you might traditionally think, well, they're all separate, they're relatively different topics, maybe. End of the day, it's like one guy just controlling everything, and kind of weird.
Yeah, it's 16 giant conglomerates that own hundreds upon hundreds of very large websites, and the article kind of talks about how they're using them to support each other, and it's just generating power basically.
So is this a massive PBM at scale?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Site-wide footer links is what it is.
Yeah.
It is the world's most powerful Google-sanctioned PBM. I would say all of these sites. It's super powerful. It's kind of interesting because we were talking about it last week with the New York Times is trying to get in the game. With their purchases, it's something now. It's a mature industry now. The authority site space is a mature industry, and we could make money so easily in the past. You just picked a little niche, got a few links, did some nice content. No one was in the space. You just started making money 3 months in. You didn't get rich 3 months in, but you definitely were thinking, oh yeah, this was a good idea, me starting this. Now it's like there's huge sites now in all these verticals, and you can build up a whole site in a little sub niche, and it's dominating, and they just have to publish 10 posts on their network, and suddenly they have page one locked down. You're in a much more competitive game now than you've ever been in before because of the way this is working, and I can't see it changing because Google regularly says that brands are how you sort the cesspool out. So they think you're the cesspool, and they think this is good. So enjoy.
Well, something that I've always said I say that the SEO holy grail is being able to own every single property for a specific search, the top 10 spots.
Yeah.
And I think that that used to be a popular discussion back in the day when I first got started. Try to own every one of the 10 spots. But because it's become so much more difficult with all the algorithms and stuff, that's kind of gone by the wayside. But you know what? These giant conglomerates are getting away with it, and they're actually doing it right now.
Yeah.
So it does kind of expose a little bit the favor Google gives to these giant companies and how it's kind of unfair almost. But it is working right now. And if you have those kind of resources, you can get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine how powerful. So I'm looking at this, like Time, for instance, owns, it doesn't matter who, but there's like 20 sites. So like you're saying, they're trying to own the top 20 of a cert, but how somebody like us, so for instance, me, I've purchased 4 or 5 other little sites, and so instead of creating this network, I've actually rolled them in with 301s and everything. So what I'm trying to do is consolidate power under one domain, so I actually have a chance to compete with these 20 other ones where they're still spreading their power out. See what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's one way we can defend
ourselves. Their individual sites are extremely powerful. So I think that's a really good tip. I mean, you're trying to compete with huge power, and combining small power together can get you there. And I think SEO Nick did a case study on that where he bought like a load of sites on the niche. He just kept buying them, rolling all their content in, integrating them, waiting for it to rank, and then buying another one. And just bringing that power, all that historical content, bringing it all on board. Sometimes he would hire the people, I think, as well. They could keep writing. They were just writing to a bigger audience than they were before. You can definitely simulate a lot of this big brand power in the small brand game. And obviously that's something Jared, as a authority site owner and builder, is a lot more aggressive with, familiar with than someone who's starting out. So if you're starting out, that's got to be part of your game plan in the first couple of years is, what are you going to buy and where are you going to get them? Or you've got a long road ahead of you to do that manually and just become a 10-year-old site by yourself. You can buy a 10-year-old site and bring in, an extra 20,000 views a month and just keep bringing in an extra 20. And before that, that's 250,000 views a year if you find one of those a month, which I think is what, I'm sure it was Nick Eubanks. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was a post called SEO Osmosis. I think we talked about it last week.
Yeah.
When we were talking about the Sweet Home last week with the New York Times and the Wirecutter. and that's basically what they did too. They're just rolling it in article by article and absorbing another site into the Wirecutter.
Absorbing the power to make great.
Yeah. I'll find the post and I'll put it in the show notes here. Let me just find it real quick. But yeah, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Why do you think Google allows them to do the PBM thing and link to all of the sites in their footer?
Because they're all authority. Because they're all authority sites. They're all good sites that objectively, when they do a manual review and you go to Esquire.com, you don't go there and think, oh, this is obviously a fake site.
Right.
Yeah, they've got trust.
Do you think there's... I agree why they do it, but do you think there's an ethical dilemma in the mud? Like...
Yeah, there might be something going on in the background, like back.
Well, this is. I mean,
just
it's
because they're authoritative doesn't mean 17 Magazine for Girls is putting out all these articles, and obviously they're super authoritative. What if they're pushing out in an extreme case some bigoted hate articles or something, but they're gonna rank just because they're super powerful and super authoritative?
Yeah,
Google thinks that's okay.
Is this not just the New World version of the newsagent? Like, why does the newsagent only stock those 10 newspapers and 5 magazines?
Yep.
They're the ones that get the readers, regardless. I mean, Google's just the new shop or whatever. It's down to magazine publishers to get into the newsagent. It's down to us website owners to get into the SERPs. It's not really down to them necessarily to change it in ways that we would like. We just have to play the game. Like, if over here in the UK, WH Smith, I don't know what's the biggest newspaper shop that used to exist over there back in the day before people stopped buying them? Newspaper and bookshop magazine type thing. Out there.
Like Barnes and Noble or something like that.
It's down to you. Yeah, you want your magazine or book to sell. You want to get in Barnes and Noble or WH Smith. I mean, that's just how it works. Now you have to convince Google to put you in, and if that means you have to buy some competitors up, you have to earn a bit less for 5 years while you're building it. I mean, I know guys who are super rich now, and they lived just horrific life for 5 years. They were VC funded. They didn't get to pay themselves anything, and to get to their exit was 10 years of hell.
Yeah,
but they got a shitload of money now. If that's what you have to do to win, you just have to do it, and you have to plan to reinvest more. Like in the old days, and I think one of the speakers at Ungagged, we'll go into this more as we get nearer Ungagged, but one of the speakers there spoke about how it was so easy to make money in the old days. You just cashed it all out and did stupid shit with it. Yeah. And you can't do that anymore. Now you've got to say, how much can I reinvest every time until you get over the threshold where you're actually an authority site, or if you get to 1,000 a month and you start taking 800 out and hoping that it will just keep growing at 30% a month or something, you're going to be nowhere in 10 years' time. You've got to be reinvesting that 1,000 to make it, and then reinvesting the 1,200 the next month, and reinvest. Otherwise, you're not going to get to the big numbers. The big numbers only come now so much later in the graph when you've got a real magazine that they want to put in Barnes and Noble or whatever. Mm-hmm. So just different game.
We'll just never know until we own a giant conglomerate. That's basically what it is. So maybe 5 years from now, 6 years maybe.
Well, just bring up Google then if you're that curious, and just say, I need to speak to your bribes department.
Exactly.
Your bribes department.
The cock block department. How do I keep them from ranking?
Who do I give my 1.4 bill to get this taken care of?
Oh my god. But yeah, that's a good read. That's an older one, but it's definitely worth the time there.
Yeah. Oh, next up, over in the UK, Bing has surpassed 25% of the search market share. They're saying 25.1% of PC searches. Does it say if that's just desktop?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it looks like who tweeted this now? I put in my notes, but I haven't got it on my screen here. But the person who tweeted it did some more research, and Bing isn't quite as far up as they think. But the reason I included it anyway is, although they're not really 25% anywhere, it's so cheap to advertise on there. Right. If you guys are running pay-per-click campaigns on Google and you're not running a similar campaign on Bing, you're just tossing money down the toilet. It's like we used to have a finance affiliate site, which we don't have anymore, but we used to do ads on Yahoo back in the day, and it was like Google was $1 a click, I know that would be amazing now in the finance space. Wouldn't it? Imagine if it was $1 a click now. It was 4 cents on Yahoo. So we could send 1,000 clicks a day from Yahoo for nothing. It's like $400. I mean, come on, for 1,000 clicks. If you're not playing around on Bing when they've actually got a reasonable market share, and people are lazy, like everyone who has a Surface tablet, everyone who has they're dead now, the Windows phones, but you know what I mean. Like there's I think this Kindle was set to search on Bing by default by Amazon. There's a decent number of people with devices that are just defaulted to search on Bing, and they probably didn't even notice. Like your grandparents didn't notice that their Kindle searched on Bing. They just use Bing now. Yep. So if you're not taking advantage of those cheap ads, you're insane. If you're doing pay-per-click, I mean, we're not big search engine pay-per-click fans on the show.
Every time I dabbled in PPC, they would always tell me to like start on like 7search or Bing was the other one, because your cost per click would be much lower than if you went on a big platform.
But I think Bing's a little bit of a tier above 7search on the.
For sure. I think there needs to be a solid case study on how to rank on Bing exclusively, because
buy an exact match domain.
Yeah,
do whatever you would have done in 2005.
End of case study. Do some searches on Bing. Because obviously I haven't bothered changing this over from Bing.
It's just based on pure number of links, right? Just throw links at the site and you'll rank
all
on
the
Bing.
old shit. Just
links plus
keyword
stuffing.
Yeah. It's like we're 8 years behind.
Again, if we had more resources, every new project we can do a real site for Google and then like a Bing site where you just do everything that Google bans and know that you're going to bank.
Don't even bother indexing it on Google. Like block Googlebot.
Yeah.
There was actually a guy who posted about that. He all of his sites got wiped out in Penguin. Like he gets 7 visits a day from Google across 10 sites or something, and they all just kept ranking on Bing. So they're still making thousands of dollars a month because
that's all I hear. That's all I hear from my clients is like they're like, yeah, like after you get tagged by Penguin, you get tagged by whatever. Like you have your second life on Yahoo and Bing, and it just continues, and the money trickles in forever. Like you might only be making 25% of what you might have been making.
Still money
Google,
at that point,
But yeah, work on something else and take your pension from a dead site.
Yeah.
But
pretty interesting, I thought. Anyway, it's kind of cool. People miss that a lot. Like we instinctively went to it because Google was so expensive, and we're like, well, we'll try Yahoo, and no one talks about that anymore. I think people are so excited about Facebook advertising and Instagram and Snapchat and custom filters and all this shenanigans. They're just forgetting some of the basics. If you're running a pay-per-click campaign and you're not running a Bing one, that's insane. Just get the Bing one set up. It's a one-time effort, and it'll do better than your Google one because it's just so much cheaper.
Yeah.
You get way more money. Your Google one will always make you more money because there's more people, but your margins will be better on Bing. So, and you might be able to run some of your campaigns that didn't work on Google that you've deactivated. You might actually be able to run profitably on Bing as well. Yeah. So some of your keywords you can't win on Google, you can win on Bing.
You are going to have to split test the Bing campaign separately from Google though, because the traffic is completely different.
Oh, of course, yeah. It's a slightly older demographic, I think, typically.
Yeah, for sure.
So it depends on your niche.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Next on the list I saw over at Adweek, they did a little thing about Facebook ads, and obviously this applies to big brands for the most part, but they did a little case study on engagement and everything, and it was interesting. Like for the number of likes, photos and links are about 88 and 87% respectively, where videos were only getting liked 78% of the time. Shares came through videos. You see higher, where that's really where engagement comes from, is sharing and commenting versus likes. And video obviously went out there, and video also got more comments. So even though video was lagging behind in just likes, they're kind of making
way more shares.
They're making the argument, well, a lot of people don't like, comment, and share on something. They might comment and share, or maybe like and comment or something, but video is obviously winning pretty big, even though they're down on likes. But
Yeah.
pretty interesting stuff.
It would be cool if they added a fourth metric for tags. How many
Okay.
how many photos are tagged?
Yeah.
Because when I use social, all I do is just tag my friends in stupid videos and viral videos and all that kind of stuff. That'd be cool to track. But yeah,
I'm gonna lose another $1 here then.
Go for it, buddy.
That's actually one of VaynerMedia's core strategies. They've designed they design one for every single client. At the end of all of their videos, they have an animated demonstration of how to tag a friend in to see it. So they're not even pushing you to hit the smash that like button like we jokingly do at the end because we think we're PewDiePie.
Yeah.
They actually have a little animated thing and it says like it shows you where to go, how to add someone in, how and leave that kind of thing.
Because tagging is what's going to grow.
Around tagging people in, yeah.
That's what's going to grow your audience on that platform. The video share is going to be for the benefit of that one share. But when you tag somebody and get a new viewer, you have them for as long as they're following you on the platform.
Something interesting, I thought, at the bottom of their infographic, they have a graph for the median fan reach percent for organic posts by month for 2016. And it's interesting because January, it's like the beginning of the year, all last year, you just see really low reach. And as the year goes on, it gets really good until about September. And through November, it's good, but then once Christmas rolls around, it reaches down again. And the cycle, I would assume, just starts back over where reach goes back down to 0. And
I wonder if that's something that like there was reach change. As we all know that Facebook throttles reach.
Yeah, so was that around then that they made a big change?
Yeah, I don't know if that's from a change or if this is just like a yearly cyclical pattern.
There is a constant downtrend in organic reach.
Yeah. The last I heard,
reasons, as your platform matures, you are going to want people to pay more to have access. Like if you run like a new online community on Slack, you might be like, oh, we desperately need some guest people for our Ask Me Anything.
So this is just like a really
and then you'll charge for it later.
Unexplained graph here then, because there could be a ton of reasons, and this graph doesn't really give you any insight into why
it's
like
hard to figure out.
But it looks cool on the infographic, so you got to add it in. So that's all that matters.
Slink bait, it made me add it.
Hey, regardless of the reasons why, think about this: the extremely high power in this is only 3.5%.
Yeah,
that's absurd.
That is wild.
That's why Mark Cuban was shitting himself a while back.
Yeah, it used to be 30%. Like you reach 30% of your audience, whatever you posted. Now they're like, no, your followers don't get to see your stuff.
I mean, that was the biggest bait and switch in tech history.
Yeah.
Pay all this money for all these fans, and then we take all the fans from you.
Yeah.
And Brian Clark from Copyblogger was telling all of you guys, if any of you fell for it and you invested hundreds of thousands of dollars of your ad budgets building a Facebook page, building an audience on there, people actually ran ad campaigns on Facebook to get likes because they had value, and then Facebook was able to take it away because you were building your house on someone else's land. And Brian Clark at Copyblogger was telling you over and over again, build your house on your own land, build your own audience, control them with email, control them with your own site. Don't rely on them not changing the rules on you. And people just keep falling for it over and over again. There's a difference between, all right, take advantage of reach that a platform has, but don't start paying them to have more followers on that platform when they're going to be able to say, oh yeah, now our new algorithm is people can't see it. Like LinkedIn, you share a really good article on LinkedIn now, it gets no reach because they don't want anyone to leave the platform. You share a nonsense poem with no links in, and everyone sees it on the whole fucking platform. Take advantage of the platforms, but don't go and invest on them.
I look at social platforms the same way I looked at, we were talking about before, parasite SEO platforms. Like, use them for now, use them what you can get out of them right now, but you're not going to spend the same amount of money on a parasite that you would on your website. So,
exactly.
Approach with caution is what I'm saying.
It reminds me of everybody getting slaughtered on hub pages and Squidoo and all. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the article
We went a little bit over the top on the Parasite Pages game back in the day. We had like pages like "Can you short Bitcoin" all over the place when Bitcoin shorting became a thing, and oh man, we had just all kinds of nonsense Parasite.
How much
shit.
traffic would you pull to one of those Parasites?
Not much, but if someone signs up for one of those trading accounts and starts losing $10,000 and you're getting 25%, it's
I was doing the gold.
It was pretty good.
Get
You
you
ever do the gold IRA niche where there's all kinds of affiliate offers for those too. And I think I had like 30 parasites. I didn't have a website. I was just ranking parasites. The old churn and burn method with Grindstone's service or whatever he had back on Wikifire.
Spam.
Oh, that's a don't tweet this ever. Like, you should totally follow Grindstone on Twitter. Like, that's one legit Twitter feed to follow. Yeah.
But that's a cash grab for sure. But for sure, yeah. I think the don't tweet this is don't put all your money into a platform that you don't own. That's a
do tweet this. That's a
do tweet this
out there. Yeah. Hashtag salty biscuits.
Oh, anyways, we have another weekend. It just seems like the last 6-7 weeks we've seen in the news that there's been some sort of update over the weekend, no matter how big or how small.
Yeah. It's been weekly for about 2.5-3 months now.
Yeah. And it still varies reporting the typical shit. Some sites are up, some sites are down. What do you know? I don't know. We didn't really notice anything significant.
This time was nothing.
My traffic continues to go up and up and up and up and up, but all the keywords that I'm targeting are going down and down and down and down and down and down. And I've actually, I have access to client sites through Word Agent, so every once in a while I'll take a look at their, I'll run their profiles and see what they're doing, and I'm seeing similar changes across all sites. So I think I showed Jared the other day. It's like one of these pages that I'm targeting heavily is all the the secondary keywords that you target in an article are just like tanking like wildfire. But the main keyword that I'm targeting is continuing to go up. So I don't know if it's rank brain or what, but there's definitely a change.
We've spoken a few times about how we think the main keyword for a page is going to be the keyword that Google interprets more and more queries to be.
Right.
So your long tail is going to be. Your long tail is going to have to be a lot cleverer and a lot more interesting than it used to be.
And I don't think
that's unsurprising.
I don't think it's the main keyword. I think this goes back to semantic search, which we're going to talk about later. That's the topic, and you're going to rank for the topic and whatever the main keyword is for that topic, even if you're not specifically targeting the main keyword.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Right. So I think there's some changes, and I think there's going to be some fundamental changes that are going to have to take place in the way we all do keyword research.
For sure. I think this is the last piece of news here from Danny Sullivan. He's going to work at Google.
Oh, yeah? I didn't read this one.
What was he famous for? I know the name.
He was famous for being a Google shill in the press. I mean, he was famous for running search engine
journal, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, Search Engine Land. It was. And all the conferences like SMX, whatever.
And, those super.
Yeah, he was regarded by SEO insiders as being a shill for Google and pushing a pro-Google agenda in his media sites. I don't know if that's necessarily true. His media sites were aimed at less sophisticated SEOs and corporate readers, and he was trying to give them a message that would keep them out of trouble and help them do what they were trying to do, which may have aligned with Google's objectives too, but I don't think it was on purpose. But he's earned a lot of favor with them apparently and got himself a nice job, so it was a good strategy regardless.
Cool.
Yeah,
Shill confirmed.
Yeah, I'm not going to go on. All right, no big deal.
Yeah, Jared and Garrett don't want to comment on this one. I've already got myself in trouble, like calling him a short. Well, I did say that wasn't my opinion. I was like Trump. I've heard some people saying. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but some people have said.
Yeah, no big deal. So last week we were hoping to get into our main topic of link building and doing good link building and all this stuff, and it kind of stems from we've seen a lot of really lazy and silly and poor approaches to doing it. And what I've noticed is like a lot of people are going into Google, doing an operator for in URL guest post, and it's like if you're getting links from sites that openly accept guest posts, who else do you think is getting links on these sites? And chances are, if you took the 10 minutes to look, not even 10 minutes, just click another article, 5 seconds, look at the outbound links, link to a porn site, link to a gambling site, link to a Viagra site, and are you really going to put your client on there just because it's a link?
Right.
And
no, not at all.
The potentially damaging effects that can have, because and even if you don't get a penalty from it per se, do you think that link even has any value at this point in the age of Google, where it can probably see this site links to everything in the world? Probably not an authoritative site, even though it might have a high DR or people that still use DA. It's just kind of silly to me.
Yeah, I mean, my point on it was, and we wrote the article, which I'm sure we'll have in the description of the video. It's not that you need to avoid sites that take guest posts. Back when it was still good, the Huffington Post took guest posts. Back before they became a spammed community, Forbes used to have authoritative guest writers in different industries write for them. It's not that you need to avoid sites to take guest posts. It's just that if the site only ranks for, like, say you're in the health space, health plus in URL guest post, if that's all it ranks for, it's got no trust really in the health space for what you're trying to rank. What you really want is to ignore all that stuff and whether they're definitely going to take one or not, and search for, like, if you're doing a heart health link bait for your health site, you want the sites that are in the top couple of hundred places for a whole bunch of keywords to do with heart health. Like, they have dozens of articles each on the topic that you're promoting, all of them that are showing up on Google, in reasonable places. Some of them will be number, a site might have 5 articles in the top 10, 20 articles in the top 100, 50 articles in the top 150, a broad range of content on the topic that you're promoting. And then that when you get your heart health content covered by that site, it's part of a body of content that Google is rewarding, and some of it is getting real traffic and real rankings. So your approach to that site, whether they take you as a guest author, whether they just write it themselves and pitch your content because they love it, which will happen a lot, whether they write a whole article about the topic themselves and put your link in, which happens, again, that happens a lot. If you've pitched a site that's written about this thing 150 times and you pitch them a great piece of content, sometimes they'll sit down and write another 1,000-word article and put your link in.
Right.
But that's a real site. And it doesn't matter that they also take guest posts. What Garrett's not saying is because they take guest posts, they're a shit site. What he's saying is if you're only finding sites that only rank for health plus in URL guest post, you're automatically just at the bottom of the barrel before you even get started pitching anyone. So your end results for your campaign are going to be just sites that rank for crap like that. And
how much of a psychological barrier do you think it is for people that they're like, oh, this site doesn't advertise that we take guest posts, I can't pitch them?
I think that is a thing. I remember when we first started doing this, and I would tell Steve, like, this was a lot of years ago, but he'd be like, how come you didn't email this website? And I'd be like, there's no way they're going to link to us. And he'd be like, bullshit. He'd be like, bullshit, watch this. And
nice.
I pitch anyone. Yeah. But you got to be like a journalist. I mean, the journalist isn't sat there like, oh yeah, I'm not getting in the New York Times or whatever. Like, we've had a PR person that we work with all the time that does like the local news and stuff, and she just phones them up and she's like, oh yeah, and they're out at this guy's shop like the next morning. There's some random little shop in town, and then you're in the Philadelphia Daily News. There's no such thing as, oh, they'll never cover me. It's, have you done something good? Question 1. If you haven't, order it from Vin. He'll write you a good link bait. Then pitch it to some people, and the interested people will cover your shit. And all right, you have to be good at pitching, so read some PR sites. I mean, that's my main recommendation, actually, is like, if you read SEO blogs, you get the advice that Garrett was just abusing. Like, you get, oh, you do in URL guest posts, you do broken link building, you do all this other bullshit. Read PR blogs, and they teach you how to pitch people who write stories about things with your fucking story, and you get covered. Become a good PR person, and link building is the way I was with Garrett. Like, yeah, fuck off. It's not a link.
I think
So, Steve, how do you make that connection with sites that aren't advertising guest posts, but you want to link on? So the trick is personality, right? It's connecting with them.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you'll write to them like about one of their articles before you even pitch them and stuff. You know, sometimes you'll tweet at them. Sometimes you'll engage with their content. There's all kinds of stuff you can do to build a connection. I mean, I know one PR that I'm friends with. She won't pitch someone unless she's bought them a drink. So she goes to all the conferences and events, and she adds journalists to her "I bought a drink" list, and then keeps in touch with them about their pet dog, and then she pitches them and gets coverage every time, because it's like, oh wow, you've known me for 6 months and now you're pitching me. This obviously wasn't a cynical.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think that we have to move away as an industry from the shotgun approach, where you just shoot out all this shit and see what sticks, and you nurture one target to the best of its ability before you move on to the next one. So 2 years ago I might be spending an hour sending 100 emails, but maybe now I spend a whole hour trying to get one link, and I think that's really where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
As far as
I mean, I had someone ask me, and it's difficult. I mean, it is a high skill thing. I mean, when we train staff, you can't train someone to get the results necessarily that. Excuse me a second. Just needed some more wine.
While I pound this.
Yeah, no, my throat was going. I didn't have any water. They're not necessarily going to get these kind of ridiculous results. But someone asked me once, what's the shortest amount of time you've got to get a link? And it's like they were expecting it takes you like an hour of pitching and writing. And I once got 4 links in 15 minutes on Twitter.
Yeah.
From people who were in the same industry, they were our competitors, all this kind of nonsense. But it's easy. You can get that kind of result if you've got a Twitter account that's in the space. So you've spent all that time connecting with other people in the space, retweeting their content, doing stuff with them, talking to them about shit, and then you're not going to just tweet at them and ask them to share your latest thing after you've done all that stuff with them. Like, are you mad?
Right.
Just ask them. I mean, a lot of it's the same. I used to be a sales manager, so I had to train new salespeople. And the biggest problem you had with people was they just wouldn't ask for the sale. They'd get to the end of the call, and like Garrett told his story, they'd say to me, I didn't feel like he was going to buy, so I just didn't even ask him about the life insurance. It was in the mortgage space. I just didn't even ask him about the life insurance. I didn't feel like he was going to buy. I was like, I was the top, before I got promoted to manager, I was the top selling life insurance salesman with mortgages on my team. Do you know what I did at the end of every call? I just asked 100% of people. I didn't make any effort beyond that. I just said, do you want a quick quote on the life insurance while I've got you? It took me 2 seconds. That's all I did. I wasn't even I didn't even try and sell it. I was just an order taker who quoted them and took the order.
And even if your conversion rate was small, it was still a lot better than the people that didn't ask.
Well, it was huge, because if you actually ask, you get loads more than you think. Like, just actually asking for things from people who you have already having a conversation with is huge. Like, if you've already spoken to someone on Twitter, your brand already has a connection with them, and you're not leveraging that by asking for things now and then. And obviously, not all the time. Like, don't expect you've become buddies with Brian Clark at a conference and he's linked to you once. Don't expect that you can just start harassing him to link to all of your marketing shit for the next year. Like, you've got to kind of reset the clock and think, yeah, he's not going to do me another favor for a couple of years now. But getting that one favor is definitely possible. Of course he'll do it if you've become friends in the industry and done stuff together, and maybe you've been on his podcast, he's been on you, all that kind of stuff. Of course you can ask for one favor.
Sure, man.
I think people are trying to do this at scale, though. We're not necessarily trying to go out and schmooze the local journalists in person. And I think that's part of what Vin was talking about with psychology and barriers. It's not, I think that does exist, but another aspect is people want high conversion rates. So they're looking for sites that obviously take guest posts, but what they're not considering is the attrition of these guest posts.
Right.
Like these shitty sites that don't have any incentive to stay online because they're not earning anything because they're not ranking. They don't
Right.
have traffic. So
Right.
even if you convert at 50% over the next 2 years, you're going to lose 90% of those links.
Well, I would say
Yeah.
you want a pretty shit conversion rate, because if you've got a really good conversion rate, you're pitching too easy sites.
Mhm.
Like, it
But
should be
there's-
hard to get your content covered. Like, you shouldn't just automatically get a link because you asked. If you're just automatically getting a link every time, like they've got a form you fill in to put your guest post in, and then it goes live the next day. That's not a link that has any value to your business.
All right, so
It's also an opportunity cost.
so put it this
Trying
way.
to get the shitty links, you're not getting the nicer links. You're not.
Let's talk about the schmoozing. It's not schmoozing. It's like the old world way was you sent the journalist a case of whiskey at the New York Times or whatever. You know what I mean? The new way is you retweet a few of their articles, you engage with some of their shit because they want engagement. They need it. You help them out a bit first.
You do their
it's
job.
not like
you're gonna get
you don't do anything big. You tweet them a tip. I mean, I've had links from some of the big search sites because I just tweeted a tip in and I'd written it up in my article.
So Steve, an individual SEO that's a guy that's doing SEO arbitrage, and they've got 10 to 15 hours a week to put to work on their site. How, on top of all the the on-site stuff and running content and doing the keyword research,
Well, I would spend 10 hours on the site and 5 hours on link building.
and in that 5 hours, how many links do you think they should land?
I mean, at least 2 an hour if they're doing it at that kind of low scale.
Yeah.
At least 2 an hour, yeah. It's
So-
easy. It's easy the lower the number you're trying to do is. Like if you're trying to do 50 a month, it gets really, really hard
Right.
because you
Right.
have to maintain a really large, complex network of connections and nurture those to where they'll give you a link as quickly as you can. But if you're trying to do just like 5, you just need to nurture a whole bunch of connections with people and move the ones forward quickly that seem interested, and bin the rest because you've only got 5 hours a week.
Right.
If someone isn't responding to you on Twitter, they're not answering your emails when you ask them a question about their content, they're not going to be a person you want to send a pitch to when you've got 5 hours a week. So I would spend probably a third of your time on links because it is important, but your on-site is these days, like Vin was saying, super time consuming. So you can't do what you used to do in the old days and do an hour of content and then just hammer that send on to get links, because your content won't be good enough if you're not spending proper time on it. But yeah, I mean, at least a couple of links now if you're doing it at that kind of small scale.
I think that's just something important to clarify, especially for somebody that's new or just getting into doing link building themselves. Because I think the perception is that link building is going to be like this thing where you're going to get thousands upon thousands of links like in a year, where it's really not, where you should really expect to only land 10 to 20 links per month. And if that's all you're going to get, you got to make sure that it's quality. And it's
Well, I know some huge brands, obviously, who are clients or have been clients over the years, and I mean huge brands who would generate under 50 links a month and are dominating their spaces. So if you're getting really good links, it doesn't matter that you're only getting a couple an hour even if you were only getting 1 an hour and you were doing it 5 hours a week, that's 20 links a month. At the end of the year, you have 240 really solid linking root domains. That's so powerful compared with 1,000 crappy PBN links, 1,000 links on sites like Garrett was talking about where they've got no value anyway, but it was easy for you to get your guest post in. You've got a lot more power than that crap. You've got 240 linking root domains. That can do a lot. You can make a lot of money with that if your other 10 hours has been spent super wisely doing the on-page really, really well. And your content's amazing, it's delighting, your website looks nice, it converts well, you're building a mailing list, you're doing your retargeting right, so maybe you're investing some money in Facebook retargeting, because that's hugely profitable.
Sure.
I mean, that's the one place where advertising is still way underpriced, is Facebook retargeting. Everyone who does Facebook retargeting makes money.
all that shit is like stuff that I don't touch, but I'm always like, oh, I'll get there when I have more resources. But maybe I should be putting more of my budget into that these days.
Just a little bit, yeah. I mean, if you spent $500 a month on Facebook retargeting everyone who's ever landed on your site since you put your tracking pixel on, you'd make like, I don't know, you'd make 800% ROI on it, and then you'd be like, oh, I want to spend more on this now. Do it for 2 months, like $500.
You're getting me hyped up there, Steve.
Yeah, you'll love it, man. It's insane. Like, you've been around for longer than we have now with an actual like site brand, because we used to be referral only. You've been out there as a kind of website-based business for much longer than we have, and all those people, you can retarget them now so cheaply. Like, you'll spend like $10 to show them all a post. You'll do a blog post and you can show your whole retargeting audience of a few thousand people for like $10-20.
And you think that price is so low just because
people aren't doing it? Like, like not enough people are doing it. When more people do it, it will become expensive. It's like pay-per-click when it started. People bought major we had some finance keywords for $1 on Google that are now like $27.
Sure.
And 4 cents on Yahoo or whatever. As more people do it, the prices just get bidded up. But while retargeting on Facebook's cheaper than retargeting on Google, sometimes depends on your niche, generic advice, blah blah blah. It's definitely a good opportunity at the minute. It's still underpriced.
Interesting. Jared, you got this link here, buddy. What is this?
I do. I saw this on Builder Society. It's pro blogger, Usually not very good information. Pretty generic. But this did speak to me. So you know the guest posting where you go ahead and you prepare a badass post and then you pitch the post versus letting them pitch you a topic, then you write. Because you want the job done for them so you can hand it off and get the conversion. But so this chick, her name is Lainey Galligan. She pointed out that you might do something like pitch them your press kit. Oh, we get 5 million hits across all of our social properties and our site and all this stuff. So it's all broad and generic. It might sound impressive, but she's talking about digging into your analytics and doing, what did I say earlier? Humidifiers. So you go into your analytics and you search humidifiers for all your posts. So then maybe you do the past year, and you can just screen cap that and show them, these are all posts I've written on this very specific topic that are pulling in so many hundreds of thousands of links with this average time on page. So what you're doing is you're hitting them with very relevant, specific, juicy details.
So they know you're going to get a really nice article from you as an authority website owner then, because you can bring them traffic when you post
not only that, here's the article. I already had it. All you have to do is paste it and press publish.
The problem with that is that's fine if you're doing the small scale stuff, like we're talking about for the guy with 5 hours a week. When you're doing it at scale, the response time and everything means you suddenly need to, because what you can't do is send the same article to 20 people.
No, you need to go ahead and prepare it.
Seven of them will publish it, and then you're like, oh fuck, what do I do?
This would really be for that really awesome link that you want to snipe, and there's that huge, there's that one website that you really wanted to get a link on, and you finally have this awesome piece of content, and you can provide to them.
Even they don't want to read the whole thing. Like, when you do a PR pitch to a journalist, a newspaper, you give them the outline. You don't even write it all for them. You make their life easy. You give them all the facts that you're going to cover. You give them the juicy stuff that gets them excited, but you don't have to write it for them. I think if you're writing the whole post before you pitch, you're going to waste a lot of time. It's going to become a time sink. But you can learn from the PR industry and give them the juicy bits of the post, the bullet points, the exciting stats, the intro. And then if they want more, then they get the whole post. And then you do the actual work. And you can send that pitch then, the way a PR does, to 20 newspapers. You can send that to 100 sites then.
Right.
And then do totally custom versions for their audiences. And you can actually tweak it. Like when you do, like when you're applying for jobs, you don't send the same cover letter to 100 job applicants. You might have to apply to 100 jobs. Yeah, especially if you're applying for quite senior positions that are hard to get. You might have to send 100 applications out, but you don't just bang the same cover letter on each one. But the core facts of your pitch, the CV stays the same. You tailor the intro to the people you're actually pitching and their audience, and pitch that out. But that's a lot less work than trying to write a full post for all of those. So even if you're pitching big people, I'd say treat it like you're doing PR. Treat it like you're pitching a journalist. Give them the juice, get them excited, but don't spend 9 hours writing a post for them before they've even replied to your email. Because they're going to delete 60% of the time. They're going to delete your email without even reading the post. So don't spend 9 hours sending them something amazing. That's insane.
How often are you landing links on like a DR60 site or even like a DR50 site? You know, like
we generally aren't at the price point that people buy from us for.
Yeah.
For people who pay for it, that are paying the $300+ a link for that kind of more PR work, we land them pretty consistently.
Yeah.
You know,
I just think it's two different strategies. I think what you're describing is
well, no, but that's how we pitch them. We don't send them a full article. If you want to land them a DR60 site, they have an editorial calendar, so you may or may not fit in with that. You better find out what the editorial calendar is before you write them a full article that isn't right for them.
Right.
Because they'll reply to you and they'll be like, well, in between, you know, for this quarter that you write to an environmental site, they'll be like, well, this quarter we're really focusing on water. If yours is about trees.
You lost
you're wasting the time. You know, so even pitching the big site, the bigger the sites get, the more it gets like traditional PR. Like under no circumstances should you send them a full post. Unless you
I disagree. This is going to work great. Blogger to blogger. You're talking about journalists and all this. There's guys like me who've got DR60 sites, and I would accept a pre-written post all day if it was, you know, if they read my site, they know the way that I write, the way that I edit images, and they hand that to me, and it's got their one link in there, and it's optimized. Man, I'm gonna slap them.
That's you. You're the one that they get. They've spent 8-9 hours writing these amazing posts for 10 sites, and they're going to get 2 of them for 18 hours.
Yeah.
If they sent
still DR60.
but if they sent 100 pitches out to the sites in their space, and they got the 20 back, you got to then tell them, like, all right, you might publish that post, but they might get something just slightly wrong. It wasn't quite what you were looking for, and you're busy that week. So you kind of reply to them with, yeah, this isn't quite right for me right now. And then 6 months later, maybe they managed to get you to publish something. But if they'd asked you, like, here's what I'm thinking of, I think it works really well with your audience. Here's the kind of skeleton of it. Here's, like you said, the data that proves I know what I'm doing. And then you say to them, look, this would be perfect if you did this. And then they sent you the perfect post. Even if you're one of the less interested webmasters, you're going to publish. So instead of getting 2, for way less effort, they're going to get 10 links.
So what you're saying is perfect at scale. I'm talking about you get 5 posts in reserve and you start pitching them off one at a time until you place all 5. You know what I mean? I agree with what you're saying.
Steve, I agree with you like 90% of the time. It's just like, personally, when I have sites, there's always like these 1 or 2 sites in my niche that I'm like, I want to link from that website. I don't know if it's going to be now or if it's going to be 2 years from now. But when I target that one website and I want that link, this is you know, maybe I won't write the whole article first, but I think the screenshot of...
so you agree with me then?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm probably somewhere in the middle.
just to clarify that there, you wouldn't write the whole article then.
I wouldn't write the whole article, but I think the idea of screenshots of, you know, the traffic that I bring in.
I think Jared's tip on that was
raw data of you know, not just these broad metrics and immediate hit, but actually, you know, the proof is in the pudding. Like, this is what I have done and this is what I can do for you. I think that type of thing is going to be really powerful.
Yeah, it's super cool. Just becoming friends with them, though, is super powerful. Like, if you're talking about you just need 2. Like, the fact that the guy that vets the things they link to on their recommended roundup at these big search sites that I've got links from, knows who I am, means I can send them a tip. And I think, I sent 5 tips and got 3 links.
Sure.
On one of the major search sites, just to give one example. If they know who you are because of previous interaction, you can get, if you're targeting 2 that you really desperately want in your space, you're still better off just building the relationship first, and then, because you're not pitching them for a story at all. Then you're like, this guy or girl needs to know me, and because I need to get this link, I can't burn it with a pitch. I can't send an article in, they don't like it, and they never speak to me again. I need to build a relationship and make sure I know what they want so I can give them the right thing.
Yeah, I agree that relationships are huge. I actually just did a guest post for somebody, and they we ended up just like bullshitting and just like shooting the shit via email. And now I'm going to be a regular contributor. So now once a month I can appeal to their audience, which is very related to mine, and
Super cool.
we can go do like that.
Nice.
All right, I got another tip. So on what you guys remember on Wicked Fire, some guy in the Enlightened, whatever it's called, the Enlightened section, had a post about reverse guest posting tornadoes. You remember that? So
I do actually. Yeah, I do.
So recently, some company hit me up for a guest post, and I approved them. And then I caught wind that they did a guest post on another competing site. So that tips me off right there. I should pull their site up in Ahrefs, or however you want to say it, whatever, Majestic, and you start digging through their backlink profile, and what you're going to find is every other site in your vertical that's accepting guest posts, whether they say they are or not. I mean, so right there, after you do your filtering for whatnot, you're going to boost your conversion rates.
I think I put that in the. I think I put that in the crash course. I kind of veiled it slightly, and I was going to go through with people the exact way to do it if anyone did the homework at the end of my chapter, but zero people did. That's the problem, actually. Like everyone who's thinking about this, they're being lazy, and we know they're being lazy because how many people read that now? Like 4,000 people, I think, have read my crash course page or something. I don't know. Like of all those people, 0 people did the homework. Where I was going to give them, if they sent me the answer, I was going to give them some super easy ways they can just get. The first hour doing it, they would have got 10 links or something, and no one did the homework. Like. Stop being lazy and learn some PR, learn some proper shit.
Isn't that concept if you just find like a site's guest posting persona and then you just use that as a footprint, you can find every single guest post.
The problem with that approach is, and it's super cool if you can find a footprint that isn't like an author bio or a name. If you just find a name, it tends to be too obvious, and then you find a lot of the other stuff going on that Garrett was talking about on the site. If you can find a really smart footprint to do with it, like Jared was saying, like a one where it's a specific client that you can then track on Ahrefs, or you can start uncovering a whole treasure trove that way. All I would say is make sure the footprint you find is not super obvious, because then you'll tend to be in the lower quality site threshold, the ones that you find. Because of our links, I mean, sites that obviously we get a range of sites for clients because we're doing at scale outreach for quite a competitive price point. The sites that have a footprint, because the sites have stuck a stupid thing on there about who wrote it or whatever, tend to be at the lower end of the scale of the sites we get for our clients. The good sites tend to have less of that, so they're harder to find. So you want to be looking for the footprints that give you all of the information, so that you can pick the ones that you want, not the easiest to find ones. Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, let me give credit. Steve Carter just told me that was Brian Dean backlinko.
Oh, good old Brian Dean. Yeah, Brian Dean shares a lot of good stuff, actually. He does share.
I knew he was on Wicked Fire. He was a sneak on there, huh?
We just outed him. Style was his account.
There you go.
Oh, well.
I'm sure he doesn't mind anymore now. He sells courses on link building instead of doing link building. He just wants to be known for Brian Dean.
Weren't we just talking about him the other night? Or maybe it was last night even.
He's come up a few times, Brian Dean, even on the show, hasn't he? I mean, we've talked about like skyscraper method comes up every time we talk about links. He's penned a lot of cool stuff. I mean, I think the thing with, and again, going back to the laziness, I used to get angry when Brian Dean would put one of his posts up because he would share, and that's why I didn't feel nervous about doing the crash course chapter, because Brian Dean was outing things that we thought we were super cool for discovering, because we kind of came to it independently. People weren't talking about it. Then Brian Dean would be like, "Oh, here's how you do this thing." And it used to be like, oh man, everyone's been doing this now. It's not going to work anymore. And then your conversion rate would change from 20% to 19. A few people did it. No one. The advice you need to do really well at this shit is just free. It's out there. I've written a guide. Brian Dean has a course. I don't know what he sells it for now, but it was like under $100 last time I looked. You can just get all the information you need to do the bits you want to do. If you want to become a better writer, there's courses for that. You don't have to do it all, and you'd be mad to do it all. Like, I wouldn't be able to do all of any of our campaigns. You know, like I mean, that's how we met Vin. We can't get all of our writing done, so we needed to buy a shitload of writing from word agents. Like, you're mad if you're not outsourcing stuff to people that are better at it than you are and that do the bits that you're maxed out on. But when you're starting out and you just need your first 10 links, the information's there and it's available if you're just not lazy and you'll actually read it and learn from it and actually go and do it. And the fact that Brian Dean was outing stuff that we were annoyed he'd shared, and it didn't affect the success rate of it at all. I mean, it did like 5 years later, it became, you know, more and more people, but initially it had no impact because people don't jump on things. They don't try new things out. They're like, everyone's still, oh yeah, but you know, Sherlock Does Google still works. We'll just stick for that for now and we'll ignore this Brian Dean guy. What the hell's he talking about? Skyscrapers, good content, better than everyone else in the space? No nonsense is this shit. We don't want to do that.
Dude, SEO has no barrier to entry except for laziness, and it stops 95% of people. It's insane.
Yeah. It really is,
It scares people is what it does. It's like it's the same thing as like hackers or coders, you know, and it seems like too big of a hill to climb. So people just find, you know, the path of least resistance and go that way.
I mean, I bought 4 of the Lady Gaga Google writers.
I bought a package of those from Sam to try to rank some YouTube videos, a little experiment.
Is that SEO Sam? CEO Sam?
Yeah, he's still around. I get his newsletter every fucking week. SEO Lady Gaga's.
There was a different guy. SEO Sam was the guy that we were trolling. Ross was trolling.
CEO.
That's him, right? CEO Sam? Okay.
I don't think he sells the Lady Gaga, if that's what you're saying.
He does. On Black Hat World. Yeah, he's on Black Hat World too, yeah.
Oh, he's still around, dude?
Yeah, like every month he'll redo his entire sales thread with a huge new infographic thing that they all do. It's Lady Gaga version 69.2. And Sherlock sleuths Google and whatever.
Yeah.
I just typed
what was that guy's name? Saka or something, wasn't it? The one that does all the really his infographics are so slick. And the price he sells that, he must literally take 80% of his profit and give it to some infographic designer. Like he does these. They go on for pages. Like it's
like a mile long.
Yeah, like a mile long.
Yeah, you know, like obviously his links weren't good. I spent $50 and got like 100 links from him, and like just the content alone, even though it was super poor, it must have cost him like $20 just to write that. Plus, like the effort to put all that shit up.
You say you feel bad for him?
What? I mean, I just don't know how he's making any money, because...
Well, Garrett phoned him up and said, you sure you don't want... I mean, this is shit, but are you sure you don't want some more money? Because I feel bad.
You know, it's like, are you making like $5 for 3 hours worth of work? I mean, I don't know.
Anyway, it's good fun.
Moving on, our little buddy John here. He's starting up a taxi cab company in our college town of Mankato. It's about 40,000 people, and he doesn't have much marketing experience. Obviously, he's bootstrapping the entire operation, so he's spending money on cabs and licensing and a big building and all that fun stuff. So he's looking for ways to obviously build his marketing presence on a budget. And I mean, we're already an hour and a half in this week. Maybe next week we make our main topic about local SEO or something. And
does he want to come on the show? And
John, you want to come on the show, or did you leave? I'm sure he would.
Oh, this is your buddy John that I ban every 300 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll clean up his act if he comes on. But it's something we can talk about.
That might be fun. Just let him ask real beginner questions, and we can answer them to the best of our ability.
Because I mean, this is someone that, you know, no offense to you, has no idea where to even start. And you know, that's a lot of our experience. Me and Steve working with small business owners, they don't know anything. They just need the leads to come in, and it's an education process, as we all know. But
cool. Yeah, that sounds fun. Maybe we'll do that next week.
Nice.
Oh, there was that one link just on the main topic that one of our viewers shared. I don't know if you've got it handy, Garrett.
I got it right here.
Yeah, just around the Forbes, Huffington Post, the way
I
people
put it
attack
in
those.
earlier. It's a little
So
premature.
that's in from Jason, just one of our viewers, watches quite a few of our shows. So shout out to Jason if you've made it to the end this
Yeah.
week. Yeah.
So the topic is Google says that they can ignore any links, including Forbes and Entrepreneur. So what does that mean? It means that they can do it, but when will they do it?
Well, Jarrett had a pretty good
question.
take on this before the show, so I'll let Jarrett just take this one, and we'll move on. I guess after his answer, I guess.
Yeah, I've actually seen this. Everybody and their mom selling editorials. Half of them because it's easy to rip people off, and the other half actually deliver. But what happens is, let me say, was it Huffington Post who no indexed their entire contributor section? So that took care of that.
Yeah.
But sites like Entrepreneur,
Forbes did it now, and Business Insider, I think, as well too.
Right? Because they know Google's going to come down on them. But the way that I have seen it with my own eyes, Google handling it is they will de-index a specific author.
Right.
Really? Okay.
So you've either got a single editor or author you're bribing, or you've managed to create an account yourself, and you've ran it long enough that people aren't watching you anymore. But Google will take down an entire author account.
Yeah, and that seems logical too, because all they have to do is identify this contributor profile, and then all links associated with that,
Exactly.
and then it's ignored. So it's probably pretty easy for them to do that. But I think that this article that we're talking about is kind of almost like a scary tactic, because it's just saying we can do this, we do have this ability, but for them to do that for the entire internet is a little far-fetched. You know what I mean?
Well, how subtle do you think these profiles are when
they're not at all? It's if you're going to be selling links or advertising links or saying this is available publicly, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. But I do think that even though they can do something, they're probably not identifying all the areas where they should be doing.
It's all psychological warfare. They want to make one big splash. One big splash on one big site, and then everybody gets scared and never does it again. And for and that'll bring me to my don't tweet this thing. But yeah, people get scared. They stop doing it for 3 years, and then Google can go back on their promises, and suddenly it works again.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess it's time to start rounding stuff out for the night. Did you guys decide on a charity? Otherwise, I found one on the Watchdog we can use or whatever.
I didn't think about it. I forgot.
Go for it, Garrett.
Yeah, I just went on Charity Watchdog, and they try to filter out and give rankings to charities that actually put their money to use. Like some charities, for every $100 they take in, maybe 70 of that goes to like paying their board of directors, and not a lot of money gets to the people that needs help. And as for the hurricane relief, I guess All Hand Volunteers gets an A+ rating. We usually each donate $20, and these guys sound like a good fit. For every $3, for every $100 they take in, they only spend $3 on themselves. So it seems pretty
very good,
reasonable.
Let's do that.
You got a link for us, buddy?
Yeah, one sec here. Then moving on into the reviews, this week I bought a new hard drive. I'm really anal about my data redundancy. Like, I back everything up to one drive. I have a bunch of hard drives here, and then I back up to other remote locations and servers that we rent. But I picked up a Western Digital Blue 1 terabyte. It's like their middle tier. It's green's the worst, blue's the middle, black's the highest. For the Blue series, you can do 500 gigs or a terabyte for 7,200 RPM. Anything higher than that, they're dumbed down to 5,400, so you get a little bit slower. The black drives aren't really that much more expensive, but they're all 7,200, but they have a 6-year warranty versus the blues that only have 1-year warranty. But for general storage, you don't really need a super fast hard drive, so that's what I got.
Cool, man. You're all about the value priced computer equipment.
Yeah, if I was gaming and I didn't have an SSD for whatever reason, I'd obviously go with the black for an extra $20, but in the warranty for all the but yeah, cool, value, just storage, whatever. What do we got? Steve, Zoom.us.
Yeah, I've just noticed a lot of people doing webinars have started moving from GoToWebinar to Zoom. So I just kind of checked it out. I think the main thing is their free tier is pretty generous. I mean, up to 100 participants. Like if you're a beginner webinar host, you're going to get, like, if you're lucky, 200 people registered from your Facebook ad, and then 60 will show up. So it's kind of a good tier for you when you're starting to, do your first webinars and stuff. And for salespeople, the really interesting thing is the unlimited one-to-one meetings. I mean, we use a paid service for it, where people don't have Skype or whatever, and they want to have a regular dialer number, but you need to do the screen share. And like, I think GoToMeeting for that kind of stuff charges. I don't know. It seems like they've got a really generous free tier. The one thing I noticed at the webinars is when they just throw a video up on their screen, it was a lot smoother than I've seen on most of their competitors. It's still, it's not like watching an HD video on YouTube, but it was an HD video that was, chugging along at a reasonable pace, even though there was, 1,000 attendees or whatever there was on the webinar. So I think looks like they're quite an interesting new player in the space. If you're doing webinars or you're doing sales meetings where you need a screen share or slides or presentation, I think Zoom is worth checking out. It's zoom.us.
Hey, do you think that they use Pied Piper's middle out compression for this?
They might do. They might do.
I love that show, man. That's funny.
I just burned through all 4 seasons. It's fantastic.
Excellent.
So good. Cool, man.
Cool. Vin, what do you got? A printer?
So yeah, I've never owned a printer at my residence as long as I've lived. I've always had to like go to the library or the school or a buddy's house if I wanted to print something out, just because this is one of those things I never like bothered with. But I just picked up an Epson. I'm gonna post the link here. Epson Workforce Pro 3720. It's an all-in-one printer. It was like $100. Got the printer, scanner, document feeder, and everything's network ready, so you can print from your phone, you can email, print jobs in from anywhere, and it was a great deal. So I recommend it. And made my life a lot easier. I used to have to go to my father-in-law's house to print something out, but now we got it right next to my desk.
Cool.
Do you want to hear my really lame printer story? I bought a printer to print out one document.
Did you?
I haven't had a printer for like 6 years because you don't need to print things anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I didn't have time. I didn't have time to go out somewhere to print something, so I just ordered it on Amazon and printed my one document.
What happened?
I haven't used it since.
PayPal hit me up when they wanted a new W-9 for me, W-9, and I didn't want to go to drive 30 minutes to go print it out and scan and all that, so I used Amazon Prime, and it was here in 2 days, and now I got to print it.
I'm sure you'll use it more than I did.
Jared, what do you got, buddy?
I got 2 things. Do we have time?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. The first one is I want to show you guys my keyboard. Have you guys seen ergonomic keyboards?
Cool.
So
You showed me when he built this. This is awesome.
Yeah, so had to source all the pieces from a million different sources, and I actually made little tilts for the ergonomic aspect, but you got to solder it all together. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
But in combination with getting, the normal keyboard layout is the rows are crooked, and you see this is like a grid. So you got to get past that barrier. So I figured while I was doing that, I would also learn the Dvorak layout. You guys aware of that? Yes. So QWERTY came about because they for typewriter demos, they wanted to be able to type the word typewriter only on the top row, and then also they didn't want the keys binding up.
Right.
But so Dvorak, this guy created a computer algorithm to figure out the most efficient way to type and how to lay out the keys. So I learned that, and I got this new keyboard and got the nice little switches in there, mechanical keyboard. But my typing is, I must be up to like 120 words per minute or something, way past where I was. So that's something to think about.
Do you have any wrist pain now anymore at all?
No, I don't. And that's part of the reason I went into it, is because I started getting my elbow down.
It was actually your post on Builder Society was what got me to buy a mechanical keyboard. I used to not be able to play darts. Like I was struggling. I was always the guy in my team that let us down if I was having a day when I'd worked a lot. 'Cause my fingers would be in agony. I couldn't throw. I saw your post about the mechanical keyboards. I just bought a cheap mechanical keyboard on Amazon, like I don't know, $40 or something. And it's just the pain's gone away. It's magic.
Yeah,
If you don't bottom out anymore, you've got that feedback. It's like typing used to be. You're typing on some flat keyboard, like one of those ultra small, you type fast. I mean, I was definitely quicker on, I had the Microsoft really small one where it's like optimized for speed. And I could get up to 110 words per minute on that bad boy, but I was in agony after like 2 hours of typing, whereas on this thing, solidly in the 90s and just no pain at all. It's been magic. So your post actually is the reason why I've won a lot of darts games recently. I've got a little trophy on my cabinet. And,
well, two things. One, I didn't know that you played darts, so we're gonna have to play in Vegas.
We'll definitely.
That is my favorite by far.
I'll bring my steel tips over because I played with Garrett and he got frustrated playing me and decided we didn't want to play anymore. So.
And second, I love my mechanical keyboard, but do you guys ever get like the sticky keys where like the backspace sticks and then you just delete half a paragraph and shit like that? Like that happens to me.
I'd throw the keyboard away and order another $40 keyboard. Then that's your solution.
Yeah.
You got to clean them, man. Every once in a while.
So that's
yeah. I think I'd chuck it away if that happened and get a new one. But yeah.
For me, the pure satisfaction of just the clicking sound, I love it. It's awesome.
I really like it.
I opted. I didn't get the clicky sound, but I got the bump, the tactile bump, so you can feel it.
Yeah.
It's nice. Got the heavy.
It is.
What else you got there, buddy?
Yeah, my second thing was, okay, I got permission during this talk. Serpwu is rolling out a ton of, I don't want to say new third-party metrics, but they're enhancing what they have. But two of them, one of them is they've got the who is age. So as you're analyzing the entire top 10 of your SERPs, you can check out the average age and whatnot. But the kicker was, I don't know how they've pulled it off, but C-Carter and eLiquid have brought back PageRank. So you can get current PageRank metrics in Serpwu. I don't know how.
So that's what you were talking about before.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. I was sworn to secrecy, but I asked if I could mention it.
That's gonna destroy the competition because
that's amazing.
Everyone wants to know that data. That is unreal.
Where is he scraping that data from?
I don't know. I don't think he's scraping it. I think they got a straight pipe into Google or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know how they're doing it, but it's impressive.
I wonder what's going to happen once they find out about that. And I don't know. PR is back.
But that was
PageRank's back, boys.
Yeah.
PageRank's back on the menu. But my review was for Serpwu's keyword finder. I don't know if you guys have used it or you're familiar.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I actually overlooked it for a long time because I didn't really understand what the true purpose was. I thought it was just scraping up keywords. But what you actually want to do is feed it a seed keyword. And what it'll do is pull up the top 10 for that keyword. And then it will take each one of those URLs and pull every keyword that they're ranking for. So now you're sitting on a list of like 10,000 keywords. So you start, the way that I do it is I start filtering by the number of top 10 sources that are ranking for these keywords. So you can chop the list down to a few hundred and then you can tweak it. But what you're doing is you're getting a packet of keywords that are highly relevant to this parent seed keyword. And then you sprinkle those in with your H2s. It's basically your LSI topic optimization instead of keyword optimization.
What I like about it is that it uncovers things you don't expect, because if every site, all the big sites in your niche also cover some weird like subtopic that you hadn't thought of, it uncovers that to you immediately. Whereas the Ahrefs keyword tool, the Moz one, Google's own AdWords tool just shows you obviously related stuff. But if the other people in your niche have come up with a clever idea of something that's worth ranking for in that space, Serpwu's tool uncovers that for you. It's like it's a competitor analysis keyword tool, not just a related keyword tool, which is what's super cool about it for me.
Now is that going to be for optimizing a single article or like site-wide? So like
I use it site-wide, but
so if you find this whole packet of keywords, you're going to create different articles around all those different keywords?
Yeah, I use it to understand the competitive space broadly rather than narrow single articles.
You can do that, but my point was that what you're uncovering is if you push up the filter for the number of sources up to 6 or 7, what you're doing is you're looking at a set of gimme terms. If you optimize for this parent seed keyword and you include these other gimme terms that are supportive of the main keyword, you're guaranteed to earn them, and they're perfect for distributing your anchor text. So, I mean, you might have a 2,000 volume keyword, but with the supporting keywords that are freebies, you might bump that up to 6 or 7,000. Then you get all the long tails, you're up to 10,000, and they're pretty much free if you do this LSI.
On a page level, right?
What's that?
On a page level, like how we usually talk about it.
Yeah, on a single page. Cool. So it's kind of like the TDI. What is it? TF-IDF?
Yeah, the term frequency, inverse document frequency.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but it's not just optimizing for depth around a topic, but it's really dialing in exactly the n-grams and the phrases that Google expects to see and will give you free rankings if they're there. Especially if you put them in your H2s and H3s.
It sounds like Carter's getting some of my money this week. Is what's happening. That sounds like.
Oh yeah, if you haven't got a Serpo account, you need to grab one. I mean, I mean, you've missed out on the great deals me and Jared got by getting on nice and early, but he got a better deal than me. He got on super early by the sounds of it, number 2 or whatever.
I think number 2.
I'm probably like number 50,000 or something, but I'm still pretty early, I guess, because my deal is good. We'll end up upgrading though once Garrett gets our sites rolling a bit more seriously, because we'll need a lot more data than we've got now. So we'll be moving up the table.
Very nice.
Cool.
So this week my don't tweet this would be, don't be afraid to stand your ground in sales. People are going to try to get you to do things that are not included in the price point, and it's going to cost you more money than it should, and at the end of the day you're going to regret it. And don't be afraid to say we're not going to be a good fit because of it, because you're just going to hate yourself a month down the road.
Yeah.
Cool. So my don't tweet this is kind of probably slightly geeky or whatever, but so we read this Ahrefs blog post, and it was talking about their co-citation tool. So you want to find sites that link to all your competitors, and then you can get links from them because they already linked to all your competitors. But then you use their tool, and you go into it, and there's like 10,000 linked sites on this like group list for that link to your top 10 competitors, and you've got to click 7 times if you put 7 of them in there or whatever to get the link, the actual page for each one. And it's like, so you're like, are you going to click 70,000 times and paste them somewhere, or? And you can't export it. We tried exporting it using Ahrefs export, and it was just giving you the list of sites again. There was no way to get it off there. Their API doesn't support it, and we promised the client we would do it. So, because the Ahrefs blog post sounded super promising that this was going to be like something that Ahrefs did. I was like, yeah, we'll do the outreach for that, no problems, because we're just going to get the data from. Impossible. So what we did was we built our own database in Postgres that had all the data, and then we just downloaded the full links list from each of the sites. So we didn't end up even using. Well, I'm sure they invested a lot of money in making this super useless tool. Ahrefs, thanks guys. Next time you write a blog post, like if you're not finished the tool, let us know. So we downloaded all of the links data, like every backlink for each of the top 10 competitors. We put it in our own Postgres database, and now we can query it. So we can be like, is this links page 1 that has at least 3 of your competitors on? That links page, you're guaranteed to be able to get a link on. Like they're already linking to 3 of your competitors. That's an easy linking links page, and we can now pitch those and get those links really super easily. It took a while to get all that data uploaded. I mean, it's like millions of lines of data we ended up uploading. But now the queries take obviously instant, because Postgres is like some kind of witchcraft. I don't even know how the data. Well, I mean, I guess it's huge sites run on it with 1 million people a second trying to access stuff. Yeah, I mean, those guys have done some serious witchcraft. So once you get your data in there, And it's actually funny, you guys have mentioned Carter a few times and Serpwu and his talking about C. I wish I still remembered C from when I was a teenager, because uploading all this data and processing it and getting it into the database would have been like so easy in C for speed. I only code in Python now and JavaScript, so it's a lot slower to get all the data imported than it would have been. But once it was in there, you just, any weird things, like your outreach team are like, all right, so Steve, I need the ones that link to this one, not this one. It has to be this particular anchor text and this type of page. I can just pull that from the database and give them a list of 1,000 sites, and they can just get pitching.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
So, and I think that kind of data processing and doing that kind of analysis opens up a treasure trove of links for you that's absolutely... Yeah, I mean, that's just, these are going to be some of the easiest links we've ever got because we've built this database and the tool. I think much like if you stick all of your stuff in a spreadsheet with Ahrefs, you're probably violating the TOS if you keep it forever. So once you've finished your project, delete your database. Don't steal Ahrefs data and keep it forever. Respect the terms of service. But for this one project, it's huge. And just learning some basic things like that. You can probably spend, I don't know, a fortnight learning to do that kind of stuff. And if you're serious about starting a site and you're going to be doing this site for the next 5 years, a 2-week investment to get 300 of the easiest links you're ever going to get, because you've got the data to show you where those easiest links can be got from, it's just 100% worth it. And but yeah, please don't actually tweet that one. This is real. Don't tweet this. Because I think using Ahrefs that way, no one's doing it. The existing tool doesn't do it. If you use the list it gives you, you're pitching blind because you don't know which page different sites are on. You don't know the anchor text. You don't have enough depth. Is this a branded mention that 3 of your competitors have got on a good links page? You can get that data yourself if you put it in your own database and query it.
How many tweets would you have to write to get this all on Twitter?
Exactly, yeah. You can't even tweet it if you try. That's not a challenge, though. Don't tweet this.
Vin, what do you got?
All right, so we were talking about semantic search and keyword research before, and you know, semantic search and LSI keywords is something that's always been really interesting to me. And the other night in one of our private chats that me and Jared are in on Skype, one of the members just revealed like this whole slew of artificial intelligence keyword analysis to me and related to semantic search. So my don't tweet this is really that if you're able to figure out how AI parses information and keywords and basically able to understand how RankBrain is looking at a web page and how it determines the topical relevance of a page, you're going to have an edge over your competition because you're going to be able to reverse engineer that information and write your content in a way that RankBrain will be able to understand it and essentially outrank your competitors because of that. So my suggestion would be to start researching, you know, semantic search, LSI keywords, what we said before, term frequency, all that kind of stuff. Because right now I think we're pretty much on the ground floor, and I've seen a lot of tools start to just begin getting into this what they call keyword cluster kind of stuff. What's that tool? SERPstat. SERPstat's doing it. Market News is doing it. Serpwu is now doing it, and sooner than later, I'm sure Ahrefs is going to get into it too. So semantic search, the future of content and content analysis.
I mean, that's actually a really interesting one because we're playing with that internally on. Because Garrett has 100% credit for this. He called it before you know anyone else was talking usually about it. I mean, he was still a teenager back when he called it. That the relevance from domains that are linking to you is always mattered, and that's been obvious. But the article itself, the more relevant it is, and the more it has the right keywords, and it's not people are kind of looking too short term, and they're like, I'll just make sure a few words around the link are relevant. And then you saw link building agencies doing guest posts, and they'd be like, oh, you know, the paragraph that it's in has to be relevant. And Garrett's always believed that, you know, if you're pitching a piece of content and the whole article can be relevant, that's going to be massively more powerful. And we're actually building some machine learning tools to help us analyze that across all of our client base to see how well we're hitting that mark. I mean, we know we're doing a better job on it than our competitors because we can just look at their articles and objectively see they're doing a general health article and jamming that heart health link in one relevant paragraph, and we're getting an article like heart health in seniors, heart health in disabled people, heart health in, you know, the exact niche that people are looking for. So we know we're doing better, but measuring it's really difficult. Machine learning can help you do that. And there's loads of free APIs or not too expensive APIs from people like IBM and Google are putting out there for free in the machine learning space that you can use to develop your own code. And it's kind of tough for me because I'm not a good enough coder to like immediately get those APIs and what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm doing a machine learning course first, and then I'm going to kind of circle back and try it. But we're working on that internally quite heavily at the minute, because I think it's going to be something that measuring and understanding is going to become more important. And I think everyone in the SEO industry is going to have to do both. In your team, you're going to need to have really good marketers who are good at PR, good at pitching, good at psychological content. And you're going to have people that are really geeky and are really good at understanding the technical aspects of content, all these weird coding things you're going to have to do to get the best out of your results, because that's where the bar is moving. Like the really good people have those skills in their team.
Yeah.
And they're not struggling because they're not struggling with the list of 10,000, 50,000, whatever. Some of these are good links from Ahrefs and then going through them manually and spending 6 weeks. They've got it in a database like we've got, and they're pulling the 1,000 good ones and getting on with it. And like Vin was saying, they're writing the content in a way that's been supported by AI. Like their writers have got additional data and additional tools at their fingertips that a writer just sat by themselves only has intuition to try and answer. And if you're not thinking ahead and trying to build those tools for yourself or find places that you can buy them, keeping up with what's available on the marketplace, you're going to be a step behind. You're going to be fighting without the right tools.
Hi, puppy.
Yeah, my buddy Mark, he showed me all kinds of tools that he uses now, and I'm still learning everything. But you know, the concept of top goal like entities, it's basically just learning how the machine reads your content, and if you can understand that, you'll be able to write your content in a way that's going to be a lot more powerful than just, you know, including your main keyword and you know, all the typical spots on a page. So it's
I actually wrote a really good guide about this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god! Like, I think Garrett still has a copy. Yeah, 6-7 years ago. Yeah, like, and it's things like if you're talking about a topic like wine, and Google expects, like a Wikipedia page expects, like if you want a Wikipedia entry that you've written to actually stick, it has to talk about the history of wine. It has to talk about like what makes wine, grapes. So you're gonna have to have content around different grapes and all that kind of stuff. And your typical keyword optimized page SEOs were putting out had none of that stuff. It was just wine, cheap wine, best wine, wine from Bordeaux, wine from all the really obvious bollocks, and that's not enough. You have to, if the word grapes isn't on there, it's a lower quality page about wine.
Right.
And I wrote about that 6-7 years ago, and it's insane how it's only just becoming mainstream now. People are talking about these related keywords, and they're giving it bullshit phrases like TDF, IDQ, and all.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's like
grapes to woman would just be your standard LSI keyword. You know, everything you would talk about around the main keyword. But
yeah, well, I mean, it was obvious to you know, serious SEOs before it became a buzzword and people started putting it out there. And it's kind of, I think the AI will take it a step beyond that. There'll be things that you wouldn't obviously think to put on that Wikipedia page that AI will help us uncover, and that's where it's going to be super interesting. You know, like the obvious ones, obviously grapes, tannins, sulfites, all the things that go into. There's going to be some other stuff that really good pages on wine. Like someone who's 50-year veteran of writing about wine would include in his article about a specific bottle that you won't uncover in any keyword research tool that exists today. The AI will help you uncover and write that page as if you were a 50-year veteran. I think when the tools can make you a 50-year veteran and knowledge of what should be on the page, that's when it's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, I've been using these term frequency keyword research tools, whatever you want to call them, and a lot of what pops up is nothing I would have ever expected to consider as like an LSI term. But it's real interesting, and being able to do that search across several competing web pages and finding the terms that appear across several pages, that's golden to me. You know, because if you can use that in your article, then you know that you're basically giving the search engine exactly what it wants. So definitely.
It was funny actually. We had a customer say to us, "Oh, you've done like a floor waxing piece of content. We don't actually use wax anymore." I was like, "Yeah, but your customers don't know that. That's what they're typing into Google." And like some of those unexpected things, like you talking to an industry expert on floor cleaning, they won't talk to you about wax now. They don't use it. But you need to uncover it somewhere. And Serpoo actually was where we got that keyword from, because all their competitors had pages and content up about that stuff. So it wasn't one that they requested or that they wanted or even knew they needed, but that's what people were searching for still, and their competitors were writing about. Because, to be honest, I didn't know that you didn't wax floors anymore. I assumed they still use wax. I mean, who the hell knows they don't use wax anymore? Like, what?
It's interesting, man.
Yeah. So what's Jared? Do you have a little don't tweet this tip this week?
Yeah, I do. I'll keep it simple to take us out.
Okay.
We've been talking about. I'm a big on-page nut. I like it. It's 50% of the battle, I figure. But
70%.
70% even. But we're talking about semantic search, LSI, topical optimization versus when we all got started sniping out specific keywords. So my tip is something that I referred to earlier, which is a lot of the stuff from the late 90s and the early 2000s is working again. Now that they've done the psychological warfare and scared everybody off. I'm not saying keyword stuffing, but here's an example. And what I'm trying to say is everybody should test these things because some of it's coming back. So you do want to optimize for a topic, but of course we're all still going for a parent keyword. And there's things that we can do from the old days to ensure that we go a little higher with that. So one of the things would be using this keyword in the first 10 words of your body copy and in the last 10 words.
Yeah.
That's an increased signal right now for that specific phrase that you stick in there. Another ones that people still talk about are trying to use the phrase closer to the front of your title tag versus in the back. Or what is if you fill your title tag all the way up, you're decreasing the density of the importance of that phrase in the title tag. Now, I'm not saying create titles that are straight out of the keyword planner, but these things are working again a little better as long as
and I've seen spaces where the old bold, italic, and underlines come back.
Hey, that's what I'm doing with luxury medical. I'm not going to change any of that because I was actually looking at it and felt like half-assed embarrassed. Like, we're pushing some limits here, but I'm just going to let her run and see if this stuff works. And I think see some good results for a while.
But the idea of keyword density, Jared, is completely gone, right? We're down to less than 0.5% keyword density.
I use like 0.01% even.
Yeah.
I'll tell you where it still works is on Google News. Like if you're trying to rank in Google News, keyword density is all the major publishers heavily, aggressively optimized for keyword density because it's still working. Google News keyword density is still sick.
Jay Brown was wondering, what's the name of the tool you guys were just talking about?
I
don't know which tool.
The LSI tool?
The Google keyword tool. Was it Serpu?
Yeah, circle.
Circle.
Circle, yeah.
If you head up Builder Society and buildersociety.com and go to the Serpu thread, there you get a nice bonus on there as well. So, and join Builder Society and you can hang out with all of us guys as well,
Except me.
except Garrett.
What's wrong with
Yeah.
you?
Well, there's enough.
I don't
There's
know,
enough on there. We don't need extra.
Nothing against. I actually really like it. I just don't go on. I don't really go on forums anymore. Too much.
Garrett's the Facebook guy.
Yeah,
He's
there's
like
just
100.
too much
Yeah.
anger coming off of Facebook these days.
Yeah,
Anyways, I think that's everything for this week, right?
yeah. That was a good one, this week, guys.
Yeah, really pleased. Thanks for coming on, Jared.
Yeah,
Really
thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
let's
thanks
sign
again for
off.
joining us this evening. SEO Unmasked. Don't forget to smash that like button. Keep Sassy Steve happy over there, and don't forget to email him all your questions.
You gotta say motherfucking. Smash that motherfucking.
Share,
Push that shit,
subscribe,
bitch.
everything else everyone does. We'll see you next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be doing some local SEO stuff. So,
Sounds good.
all right.
Later, guys.